time.
Hi, everybody, and welcome into a Tuesday edition of the Computer America Show. We've got a great program lined up for you tonight. For you gamers out there, we're going to be talking about a harness that you put on your entire body, and it's wireless, yet it allows you to interact with video games. I mean, you move your right hand, the character moves his right hand, left hand, and it's just really very interesting. And we're going to be talking about it's called the PrioVR, P-R-I-O, the PrioVR, which in the first hour of the show, we have the Vice President of YEI Technologies, or it's Y-E-I Technologies. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And in the first hour, and then in the second hour, Ben and I are going to do Computer and Technology News, brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. And yes, Ben is here with us. I know his internet is up and it's running. And
3 minutes until showtime.
So we're glad to have him here tonight.
It took a minute, but, I'm sure everyone has their own little story of cable companies and internet.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure we can share those. Maybe in the second hour we can share a little bit of that.
See, that would just lead you down a rabbit hole, because I'm talking about, paying for 50 and getting 20, megabits a second.
That's not fun.
That's that's a whole different rabbit hole. But we have a lot of good news stories in the second hour, anyways.
Okay. All right. Well, sit back, relax. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and we'll be starting the show. Okay. Chat room's filling up nicely.
Down to 16.
2 minutes until showtime.
I'm at 98 right now. I just did a test. So, and my upload speed is 6 megabits per second. My download is 98 megabits per second. But your video is very clear. It's easy to see.
I know. Even with 20, a lot of people around the country would say, "Wow, you have 20? That's amazing."
Yeah.
It's nice to take for granted the 50s and the 100s that we get, but you got to figure a lot of people are still. I think dial-up is up to like 4.5 megabits a second now.
Dial-up is still extremely slow. You're talking about DSL is 6.
DSL is up to 6, I think.
Yes, that's the fastest. By the way,
dial-up is 1.5 actually. I take that back.
Yeah. Do you have auto throttling turned on your Google Hangouts?
I do not.
Okay.
1 minute until showtime.
You can turn that on. I think with the which is the one that turns it. It's the it's the one with the little bars. It's right next. You have the phone on the top, the gear, and then the little bars that you can turn on the auto HD if you don't have the slider on, and that'll regulate it for you. Alrighty. Ooh. You took a picture. I know I can't hear you. You turned it off. What did you say?
Figure out what that camera was.
So you can take pictures with it now. Oh yeah, it's new. Okay, capture.
Okay then.
They keep adding new things in it.
No, actually, I think that's old, but that might be useful whenever we do live video interviews.
All right. Well, good.
We can take pictures of people who are showing off their product, on webcam.
Yeah, that's true.
That might be useful.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
Ben is back, and hopefully for good this time. I know you were supposed to be here on yesterday, and unfortunately, your Uverse they had a problem out in the street, and it wasn't in the home. It was somewhere outside,
It
and
was between the home and whatever hub they have that services the neighborhood. So,
Mhm.
whenever Ben isn't here, I do it spectacularly.
Yes, you do. Evidently, the whole neighborhood was out. But anyway, it's back.
Exactly.
They're back, and we're up and running, and so we're certainly glad to have you here. And now, let's see something here. Okay. Now, one of the things that we're going to be doing here tonight is in the second hour of the show, we're going to have Computer and Technology News, brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. And we got some interesting stories, news stories happening around the world that we'll be sharing with you. If you want to interact with the show, you certainly can. We make it really easy. You can call us if you have a question for us or our guests. 347-884-8881 will get you on and get you through. 347-884-8881 is the phone number to call. You can also send us email to live, L-I-V-E, at computeramerica.com, and we'll see your emails. If you're radio shy, that's a great way for you to interact with us. You can also join us on our live IRC chat room. We've updated the page, so it looks much nicer now. You just click on the button there that says chat room / live video, and you'll see our IRC chat room. All I have to do is put in a nickname in there, authenticate with the CAPTCHA, which is usually a number or 2 words. You hit the little connect button, and your browser will bring you into our Computer America chat room, or you can elect to use Chatzilla or one of the other clients that just formats it more nicely for you, so you can use that. And we'd love to see you in the Computer America chat room. And also, you can watch the show thanks to our live Computer America video streaming page. It's right there on the same page as our chat room. We now have it side by side, so you can see both of them interactively. And the live Computer America video streaming page is brought to you by Other World Computing. Quality products, expert support since 1988, now celebrating its 25th anniversary. Please visit them at their website at www.macsales.com for all your Macintosh needs, your PC needs, your Xbox needs, PlayStation 4 needs. I mean, they have these products and services listed there that are just great values. And anything over $49, you get free shipping, and that's about 80% of the country. That's like 2 days. So check them out. They've got live. They have their own YouTube channel. If you're looking for installation help, if you're looking for legacy memory, for hard drives that you can't get, and of course all the new ones and the hybrid drives. They even have hybrid drives now for your PlayStation 4 for $120. Look, just check them out at www.macsales.com. You're going to be glad that you did. Okay. All right. So let's see. Anything else that I've left out before we get started, Ben? No.
Other than the blasphemy all over the website, I think we're good to go.
Yeah. Well, as I said, Ben is going to be here now Monday through Friday. He's my co-host, and I think your brother Aaron might be doing it from time to time too. And
who invited him?
I thought you did.
No.
Okay.
We don't need that hoodlum around here.
Okay.
We're trying to run a show here.
I see. All right. Well, let's get started with our first hour guest. Now, you're our gaming expert, or one of them, and we have Grayson Hamilton. He's our computer.
We dabble.
Dabble, yes. But our guest this hour is from YEI Technology, and they make something called the PrioVR. Now, a long-held dream of every virtual reality aficionado has just become a reality. I mean, the ability to have complete freedom of movement in virtual reality will soon be available with consumer-level virtual reality devices. Now, until now, there hasn't been a way to truly immerse yourself into virtual worlds in a way that allows natural, full-body interaction. Well, PrioVR is changing the game by bringing you and your movements into virtual environments where you can see your body move as you move, manipulate items as if they were right in front of you, and interact as naturally as you do in the real world. Now, here with us is Michael Sutherland. Mike is the Vice President of YEI Technology. the makers of the PrioVR. Mike, welcome into Computer America. How are you tonight?
I'm good, thanks, Craig. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Now, is it YEI or is it YEI technology?
It is YEI technology.
Okay.
It actually stands for Yost Engineering Incorporated originally. However, if you want to call it YEI technology, I mean, it's if you're excited about the technology, we're excited about the technology.
So,
but, the actual term is YEI technology. Yeah.
But you could say yay because it means you're
exactly.
excited.
Yay!
Exactly.
I'm excited. I'm excited about virtual reality.
Well, okay. So now I've gone to the website, and you can go to the website too and see this if you want to. By going to a number of websites we have. There's yaytechnology.com, there's PrioVR.com. Here's the easiest thing. Just go to ComputerAmerica.com and go onto our show notes page. We have today's show, August the 19th, and you'll see the link to the PrioVR is right there on our show notes. So you can just click that and go right to it and see it for yourself. So let me just start out by saying, asking this question. In order for, there have been so many ventures into this. Look at the Kinect. The Kinect is one of many. It's like a camera that looks at you and emulates your body functions as far as movements. And in order for virtual reality to really succeed, is it necessary to create devices that utilize more of the user's body itself?
Yeah. So, well, it's interesting that you brought up the Kinect first, because obviously it's doing a couple of things. One is that it's actually offering gaming experiences outside of virtual reality, which I'd love to talk to you a bit about that later on as well, because that's an interesting area for PrioVR. But as far as VR and whether it's necessary to create devices that utilize more of the user's body, if you just look at what virtual reality is, it's creating another reality. It's creating a virtual reality. So if you just take a step back from that and you think about this reality, we live and literally breathe inside our bodies. It's what connects us to the world. It's what makes us be within the world. We're born with them and we grow with them and we live in them, and so it's such a natural part of ourselves. And so to suddenly be put into another reality without our body it can be a little startling at first. So yeah, it's definitely very important to have this awareness of your body in the virtual world. There's a number of specific reasons as well. We particularly believe that body tracking is important for VR. And I would say that they kind of fall into what I would call functional communication and presence. And if you're interested, I can just quickly go through what those mean to us.
Of course, we're interested.
So functional is just as it sounds. It's just about being able to interact with a virtual world. So if you're imagining yourself inside that virtual world, you're going to look around and you want to be able to interact with it. And it reminds me of a trip that I took to Seattle to a company called Valve Software, which some of the listeners may have heard of. They're a pretty well-known company. They do a lot of direct-to-consumer games through their Steam store. And Valve has become known for offering one of the best virtual reality experiences available today. And this would compare with something like the Oculus Rift, which is probably the most well-known virtual reality consumer device at the moment. So Valve doesn't have a consumer device, but they do have something that they showed to a few people, and I was fortunate enough to have a chance to try it. And it's phenomenal. The experience is literally out of this world. The quality of it is so high that you really, really do believe that you're inside this virtual world. And they've gone to painstaking detail in the models that they're using, and everything about how they've created that world, that it gives you this amazing experience. But really only from a visual standpoint. And one of the examples that they showed, which is a little hard to explain over air, but is basically you're standing or you're sort of kneeling in front of what looks like a little coffee table in front of you, about knee height. And you're in this room, and on top of this coffee table is a perfectly scaled replica of an open office plan layout, and there's little tiny desks with little scaled tiny coffee mugs, and everything's perfectly to scale. And in this office, there's all these little people, these little kind of stick-figure characters walking around and doing their daily business. And it's so good that you just want to get as close as you possibly can to it, and you just want to pick up these little people that are walking around and have a look at them even closer. And it's at that point that you suddenly sort of you break out of that moment and you realize, like, I can't even pick them up. I don't even have any hands. And it's that sense that we're starting to see people saying, especially with Oculus Rift. People were very excited at the start when they had the experience of putting the Oculus Rift on as a headset and looking into these virtual worlds and sort of teleporting themselves there. But a lot of the first experience was often, oh, where's my body?
Huh.
And so from that, that sort of the ability to interact with the world is one of the important things for bringing body tracking in.
Yeah, I would think if you lose your sense, if you don't know where we all have a sort of a subconscious sense of where our body is from day to day. I mean, when we walk around, we kind of know where we exist in the real world. And if you reach out, you see your arm reaching out to grab something. I mean, it's not like it's invisible. We kind of know. I guess this is one of the things that people have to do with people who lose their sight or something. That they don't have a sense of really where their body is in the world. Although the world they're looking at is it's like in a dark room. What makes this probably more unusual is that you're seeing everything, but you don't see your arms and your legs. So you lose a sense of spatial perception. Is lost.
What you're actually referring to is your proprioception, which is interesting because that's actually where the name PrioVR comes from. Is from proprioception, and that's the sense of that awareness of your body. But it's interesting also that you said you see I think you said you see a cup on a table and you reach out for it. And I mean, that's a very instinctive reaction that we have, is you see an object in front of you and you reach out. And so that's
there's
a
no
very
hand.
natural way for people to want to interact with virtual reality.
And there's no hand there when you're reaching into
exactly.
it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a bit of an alien feeling for the first time.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that's kind of the functional aspect of it. And then the second one I mentioned was communication. And that's a little more subtle. But perhaps, are you familiar with Second Life?
Ben is.
Second Life, that's that one's actually been around for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Second Life has been around for quite some time, and for anyone that doesn't know, Second Life was it's been but depending on who you talk to, it's been the first successful virtual world, I guess. This is not virtual reality, but it's a world that exists where quite a large number of people actually deeply engage themselves in this world, to the point where a full economy actually emerged, a $500 million economy emerged, and people were actually making their living off.
Wow.
They're off working in that world. But that world was created by one of the creators of that was a man, Philip Rosedale, and Philip's actually doing some really interesting work on essentially the next generation of Second Life. It's called High Fidelity, and we've been really fortunate to be able to work with their team in San Francisco, and so they've been doing a lot of experimentation using the PrioVR suit to basically animate the characters in the virtual world. And so they're taking it even further. So they have the PrioVR that's animating all the hand and body movements. They're using some technology called Face Shift, which is a camera that basically can do facial animation based off your own facial movement. So basically the person can sit in front of the computer in this high fidelity world, and the computer's taking in all of their movements and all of their motions and all of their body expressions and translating them directly into the world. And so when you're in that world, instead of coming across a deadpan computer avatar, you're actually coming across a fully human animated avatar that's reacting in real time to the user that's driving it, and everything from eye and facial expression through to hand movements, and that's actually really important for communication, because you've probably heard various stats. Up to 90% of interpersonal communication happens through non-verbal means. And so basically what that's saying is, in every day we talk to people and we think that that's how we're communicating to them, but what we're actually doing is we're communicating in so many other ways that are more subtle, including our hand movements and our facial movements. Are
you the company you're talking about is Holotech Studios? They have a product called FaceRig, and I know they're scheduled to be on the show in September on the 25th. Where basically the camera looks at your face, but if you smile or wink, that you have an avatar that does exactly what your face is doing. Raise your eyebrows, cross your eyes, whatever you're doing. The character does that along with you.
Oh, okay. That sounds very similar. The company I was referring to, or the one that High Fidelity was using, was called Face Shift. They use something similar to the Kinect. Actually, it's a smaller version of the Kinect called the PrimeSense camera. That sits on top of your computer just like a webcam, and it sounds like a very similar approach.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly. There's a webcam that uses your webcam, and then whatever your facial expression is, the animated character, it could be a raccoon, whatever it is, does exactly what it is that you're doing. Okay. All right.
But yeah, it's been amazing to see what they've done though, and everything from stand-up comedy to singing along, playing a guitar in virtual worlds. The amount that comes across through the body movements in terms of just the expression that's relayed subconsciously is amazing, and it really wouldn't be possible if the user was just wearing a headset and that's it. So that's sort of the communication aspect of it, and then the third one I said was presence, and that's really a combination of the first two. It's functional. The functional aspect, the interaction and the communication, is really what gives you that presence in the virtual world. And Michael Abrash is he was formerly actually with Valve Software, and he's now with Oculus VR. And he kind of quoted, I think he said that presence was the sense of being someplace else while in virtual reality, and many people feel as if they've actually been teleported there, sort of physically. And so if you think of the Oculus Rift or the Sony Morpheus, which is Sony's headset, or any of these other virtual reality headsets, they're kind of providing the window into this virtual world, and so it gives you a chance to look through that window into it. But what we really want to be able to do is allow you to step into that virtual world.
And let me make it perfectly clear that with the PrioVR, you don't need an Oculus Rift. You don't need a headset. I mean, you can be watching this on a big screen, right? I mean, you can be watching the game, and you're going to be wearing. We're going to talk about with the PrioVR how it works, and you can just watch it on a flat screen. You don't have to be totally immersed to do this, correct?
That's exactly right, and that actually goes a bit back to which I briefly mentioned earlier, but when you brought up the Kinect. And this we've only been talking about virtual reality right now, which is obviously it's an exciting place right now. There's a lot going on in that area. But if you step outside of virtual reality for a second, the PrioVR is actually, even if we just stay within the realm of gaming, actually has a lot of really exciting implications for more immersive gameplay and what we kind of term full motion gameplay. And that's what I would say is sort of the next generation on from the Kinect. So the Kinect introduced us to the concept of sort of full motion gameplay, and there's a lot of titles where you'll be standing in your living room, and you can do full body movements, and it tracks into the game, and you can have interaction in the game like that. The Kinect is a very sophisticated piece of hardware, and Microsoft has put a lot of effort and time into it. However, I think some of the limitations did show in terms of their approach to doing the tracking. Unfortunately, means that there's what's some latency. So basically, when you make an action, the reaction that you see on the screen is a little bit delayed, and that actually takes away a bit from the sort of the experience of it. And the other tricky part is being an optical system, having a camera in it, means that if you step outside of the view of the camera, it can no longer track you. And the same thing happens if you turn around fully, or if you have an arm behind your back, or hands hidden behind other hands, it can get a little bit lost. And so that's one of the benefits of using a system like the PrioVR, where it basically has full 360-degree tracking. It doesn't really matter which way you're facing. You can be sitting down, standing up, lying down. You can walk around the room wherever you want, and it'll still stay tracking you, because it's a wireless system, and it's using the sensors actually attached to your own body. So for full motion gaming, we've shown a few demos with that, and we've got some pretty fun demos. One of them we get teased a bit about because it's a bit too gory for some people. It's a zombie demo, but it's a lot of fun. I'm not sure if you've seen the videos of it.
Yes, we had, and we're going to talk about those videos and everything. But let's talk a little bit about the PrioVR and what this is. This is an actual harness that you wear, and you have basically three models that I want you to talk about. You have the PrioVR Lite, and then you have the PrioVR Core, and then you have the PrioVR Pro. The first one has an 8-sensor suit, the next one's a 12-sensor suit, and the last one is a 17-sensor suit. So why don't we start off with the ProVR Lite, and explain exactly what this harness is, how people are going to put this on, and what it's going to do. And just start off with that, okay?
Well, perhaps if I even take one step a little bit further back and just sort of say what's actually happening with the suit and how it sort of works, to give people a sense of what these sensors are even about, what the number of sensors even means.
All right.
So YA technology, even to take a step even further back, YA technology originally originally we were in robotics and AI, but through that work, through the work that one of the co-founders of the company, Paul Yost, who's our chief of R&D, did, was he had to create these what's called a attitude and heading reference system. It's a small sensor that allows you to determine the orientation of itself. And we've been doing that technology for quite some time now. We've been working with the military and the Navy and Google and DreamWorks and other companies like that. These sensors, they basically can know their orientation in space.
All right.
And what we did was we realized that we could use these sensors and we could put them on your arms and on your legs, and we could actually track all of your body movements, and that actually led us into the motion capture space. And so by adding these sensors onto each of the parts of the body, it knows exactly which way any of your limbs is facing, and so from that we can figure out exactly what your hands and arms and legs and body is doing.
Okay.
And that's a motion capture application, and we had a lot of success with our motion capture suit, which was an order of magnitude less expensive than anything else that was on the market. Typically, these systems cost $20,000 and upwards up to $500,000, and we were able to produce a system for about $4,000. And so that was quite disruptive at the time. And from going on from that, we realized that we could use this knowledge and this experience that we gained and reduce the cost even further. And that was how we got to the PrioVR. And so the PrioVR is a consumer approach to this, where we've lowered the cost so much that it's now affordable for sort of an everyday gamer. And the suit is still doing the same thing. It still has sensors in different parts of the body attached via the suit, and it tracks all of your movements. And so that we realized that there were going to be different levels of interaction that people were looking for, and we realized that there were different price points that people were going to be sensitive to. And so what we did was we realized that not everyone needs a full stand-up, full body tracking solution. So we realized for sit-down experiences, sit-down video gaming or sit-down virtual reality experiences, we could have a light suit, and that's the first model that you talked about.
And that involves in other words, your legs are kind of out of it. You're sitting on a sofa, so that you don't really care what the legs are doing. You have basically something, and again, it's not really a suit. All you're calling it, it's a harness of some kind that you put on, and it's you put it over your clothing, whatever it is. And it's just a harness.
I think when you say suit, people think of Gollum in the motion capture, where they put on like the spandex and the little golf balls all over it. It's not one of those.
So I should say for anyone that does go and have a look at the site, we haven't yet launched the product. So the photos that you're seeing are actually what we're calling a beta suit. So it's actually not the fully released product. You'll see photos of the PrioVR, which has a number of different straps.
Right.
It may look a little bit cumbersome to put on and off because pretty much it is. But the final design that we're launching at the end of the year, we haven't actually shown the final design of the suit. And one of our big sort of key factors in the design of that is usability. And so we're looking for something that's very comfortable to wear, that's easy to put on and off. So it'll be more like a very minimal vest. Basically, put one arm through each side and wrap it around yourself, just like you would a small vest. And then we have some straps for the knees and a couple for the wrists. So it's very quick to get on and off. Right. We aim to have the ability for people to put it on and off in sort of about 20 seconds or so, okay. And so that they can get in and out of the gaming quickly. And in fact, you can actually take it off even quicker than that. So it doesn't quite look like the photos, but it gives you an idea of what it looks like. So
sure.
In some ways, it's like a harness, but the final version will be more like an actual wearable gaming peripheral.
All right. And again, so it looks to me like the ProVR Lite is going to take care of the upper torso and your head and your head and your two arms, and then of course the actual things that you hold in your hands too.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that was actually a later decision because we actually launched the suit at the beginning of the year during an event called CES, which happened in January, and we had a Kickstarter which was very successful, and we actually managed to raise $330,000 over $330,000, and so we're very grateful to all our backers from that Kickstarter. And one of that was actually well beyond our target for the Kickstarter, and one of our stretch goals, which we reached because our Kickstarter we had so many backers, was that we said that we would add custom controllers into the suit. So that's actually something that we're also working on. So as well as having the hand and arm tracking, we actually have hand controllers, and so this is important for gaming.
Sure. You pull a trigger. You pull the trigger of a virtual rifle that you're holding. You need the trigger to pull or something. Exactly.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is for just moving around within the world. Even though obviously for the light suit, which is just the upper body only, you'll need some way of moving around. But even for the full body suit, if you can track your movement in the real world, you don't generally have enough room to walk, a mile in the virtual world. So we also provide a joystick via the controller so that you can actually get around. And so what we do in our demos is we actually have a technique where it blends between using the joystick to run around, and when you're not using the joystick, it's actually just still tracking your legs. So you can kick and you can crouch and you can crawl. And then when you use the joystick, it takes, you can take off and start running around the environment. So we have this sort of blended ability to run using both controls.
See, Ben, he says joystick. Okay. No, he can't hear you. You're off. Ben, you're muted.
Oops. One quick question I had, though, was, and joystick is perfectly acceptable when you use it in that context, is I'm going to be honest, they look like nunchucks, if anyone has ever used the Wii U. Are these controllers motion sensors in themselves, or are they just, the A, B, X, Y, thumbstick?
So the controllers that were put out at the end of the year, it's something that we've been thinking about a lot. The initial controllers, we probably won't have any motion sensors inside the controllers, because what happens is that because you have a sensor on your hand and it's tracking your hand position and you're holding the controller in your hand, we essentially get the position and the orientation of the controller from that. There are some cases where it might be interesting to have a separate sensor in the controller, especially if you want to be able to pick up and put down the controllers and have them independently sort of visible within the virtual world. So it's something that we'll be looking into as we roll out the controllers and see what the feedback is from our community and from other customers that buy the product.
Yeah, my line of thinking is that the hands, and I've only seen a few virtual reality videos, but I mean, the hands. It's pretty easy to get a feel of where your body is in a video game, but I think your hands and your fingers and that kind of stuff, that the really minute details are the hardest to capture. So I figured the more sensors you have, especially in the hands and the feet, the better off you'd be. But if it's just a joystick and buttons, I mean, and triggers, I mean, that's a perfectly great way to go, because I love playing shooters, but I couldn't imagine getting up and running around Halo, and trying to jump every 3 seconds, wearing one of these things. So love the fact that there's joysticks in with this.
Now, yeah, obviously, because now when we come back, I want to because I want to talk about the 12 sensor suit and the 17 sensors and what the additional 5 sensors are on the Pro version, and what it's, because I'm looking at the diagram and I see all these different ones up at the shoulders and everything, and we'll talk about the games themselves that you expect PrioVR to work, and also outside of the gaming and virtual reality, how can you use the PrioVR. This is the Computer America Show. We're going to be right back. Stay with us.
Hey everyone, have you heard about the No Hair Removal device that's sweeping the globe? If you want to go weeks without shaving and get smooth, professional quality results, here's our favorite host, Cheryl, for No Hair Removal.
Thanks. Hey gals, I love talking about my No. It's this cute little hair removal system that you can take with you and use almost anywhere at home or on the road. No more expensive in-office treatments, painful waxing, and no more wasting your valuable time. Got unwanted facial hair? No No-No has patented thermocon technology that works on all hair and skin colors, so it's perfect for using on all body parts. And now you can take advantage of this incredible risk-free trial. Get the No-No, the facial kit, a travel case, and a $100 discount shopping card, and you don't risk a penny to try it. Try the incredible No-No hair completely risk-free. Call 1-800-953-5415. That's 800-953-5415. 800-953-5415.
Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission is to protect and enhance the lives of companion animals and the people who love them. Their no-kill rescue shelter is open year-round, making it easy for people to adopt their best new friend. This year, Brother Wolf will find homes for over 2,400 orphan dogs, puppies, cats, and kittens. All have ended up as an orphan through no fault of their own. Brother Wolf has created a safe, nurturing environment where these special animals can heal emotionally and physically until they find a lifelong home. Their life-saving transport program brings dogs and puppies from overcrowded shelters in the south to rescues in the north where homes are easier to find. Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is a 501c3 organization. To learn more about their life-saving work and to make a donation, visit their website at www.bwar.org. That's www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Hi, this is Marty Winston for Computer America with a News Tips Bulletin Review of the Ventev R2240 Dashport 2 by 2.4 amp lighter plug USB adapters. Now, we used to call it a lighter plug. It's now called a 12-volt accessory socket. And not many 12-volt adapters that we've tried provide enough juice to power and charge a pair of tablets. So we were thrilled when the Ventev Dashport R2240 dual output universal charger arrived. It's long and slender, with one USB power port at its tail, another on its side, each rated at 2.4 amps, so that's 4.8 amps total. Its length and shape, long and skinny, may collide with the shift selector in some cars, so do check that out before deploying one. We especially like it as a way to feed a pair of power-hungry, high-capacity power pucks in the car, making for a lot of utility and longevity without eating up the whole center console. Bottom line, the Ventev Dashport R2240 dual output universal charger delivers more current than most other current alternatives. This is Marty Winston at the News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. 33 minutes past the hour. We have Mike Sutherland here from YE Technology. I believe that's the way that the gentleman in your video on your website said it. Not EA, but YE. So I'm going to go with that one. Yeah. So we're talking about the PrioVR, which is this great suit that kind of puts you, whatever the EA slogan is, get in the game or what have you. But I mean, it captures your motion. I think in a way that might be even a little better than the Kinect, just for the fact that I have not had experience with this for obvious reasons. But I mean, with Kinect, just for me, it's that whole viewing space, which is like, move all the furniture in the house, put all the sofas against the walls, and just, try to find enough space to actually move around and use the Kinect. So I mean, something like this where I guess it wouldn't really matter, range would be less of an issue, and vision would obviously be non-existent. I mean, perfect. That's a huge grievance taken out of the equation. But right before the break, I believe Craig had a question along the lines of what kind of games would we be seeing. And I know we've talked about another version of Half-Life. So and of course, first-person shooters would be, I mean, just fun with this.
Well, yeah, but could you see yourself, let's say, using this with World of Warcraft? I mean, there's certain games that are going to work. Yeah, and they're not going to work, right? I mean, because World of Warcraft, you're looking at little tiny figures. They're not full motion figures.
Action figures.
Action figures, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say that's actually interesting because a lot of people immediately think of first-person shooters, but I'm not sure if you've seen some of the latest demos from Oculus Rift. One of them's actually called Lucky's Tale, and it's actually a top-down kind of perspective adventure game. And it has that the same sort of view where you've got the little character and he's running, and you as in the virtual reality, you're actually kind of a floating, omnipresent sort of figure above the character, and so you're kind of controlling them, but you're within the world as opposed to just being kind of behind the character. So it actually creates an interesting.
You mean what you're saying is you're like God or something, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, in fact, one of the really exciting games, which we're probably still a wee way away from, but they will come, is those sort of kind of God games where if you imagine sort of a real-time strategy kind of game, or a tower defense kind of thing where you're literally standing over the battlefield and you're commanding all these little your troops, and you can like literally sort of point them out and tell them to go over there, or gather these guys up and tell them to go over there. You're sort of commanding this army from on high. It's going to be a pretty crazy experience, and I mean, it's definitely very, very godlike in some senses. It gives you a different perspective on the game than you'd ever see from sitting in front of a monitor.
Mm.
That's actually kind of interesting. I never considered real-time strategy, but I mean, that's essentially what you're doing with keyboard and mouse, is commanding multiple troops, and kind of doing that kind of thing. And I guess virtual reality, real-time strategy, Sims would be hilarious. I think if you could integrate this kind of technology. Earlier you were talking about with the Oculus Rift, they had the office with a little, with the little people with the little mugs and what have you, and you just wanted to pick the people up. I mean, things like that would be just perfect.
The Sims was exactly what I thought of when I saw that as well. I just thought this would be an amazing Sims game.
All right. So obviously, there are a lot of game uses. Will the games have to be rewritten in any way to work with the PrioVR, or is it going to be transparent, or will it be a module that you add to the games? What are your plans?
So what we're doing is we're actually working very closely with developers. We're providing a software developer kit to developers. It's quite common nowadays. Obviously, Oculus Rift has done it. Most hardware companies now do provide a developer kit, and so part of that is part of the layer. One of the layers of that is an emulation layer, and so that would allow people to create a plugin for existing games. Mm-hmm. The downside of that is that most games generally they're not designed for use with this type of interaction. So, for example, we had a question about, I think it was Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. I think it is the new one that's coming out. Yeah. And it would be fantastic to play that with the PrioVR. The unfortunate thing is that what you don't really see when you're sitting behind a monitor is that there is nothing behind the gun. It's just a floating gun. There's no arm. There's no those things are locked in position, and even if we could interact with the game, all of a sudden you'd start to see the world unravel. You'd sort of see behind the scenes, and the man behind the curtain would sort of be exposed, and you'd realize that everything that you thought was in that world didn't necessarily exist. And so that's why virtual reality is really trying to encourage, the various different companies working in this space are trying to encourage people to build games from the ground up for virtual reality, because you quickly start to notice the seams if you start trying to get virtual reality working into an existing game. And I mean, one of the first ones that people tried to get virtual reality with the Oculus Rift working with was Doom. And I remember this was quite early on, and I remember the first thing that people were surprised about was how short the character in Doom was. He's only about 4 foot tall, and you don't realize that until you're actually inside that world, and you can look around and you realize how small the doorways are. And so it's partly a scaling issue. The games were scaled to work on a monitor, and they don't really naturally translate well into a virtual reality environment. So what we're doing is there are a lot of developers that are interested in working in building VR titles, and we're even seeing a lot of successful Kickstarters. So if you have a look on our Kickstarter page on our updates, you'll see there's a few updates that relate to different developers that are working on titles to support PrioVR. And so there's a couple of really exciting ones that we're looking forward to. And one of them we've actually shown a video that demonstrates the PrioVR working inside, and that's called Technolust. By a developer, Iris VR. And so that was actually a successful Kickstarter campaign. They raised over $60,000 from backers just to get the game out. So that's that really shows the interest in the VR, and so we were really happy to be able to work with Blair and that team to get PrioVR into Technolust. So we're excited to see where that goes. And there's some other games that are really even specifically they're going beyond just VR, and they've really tried to design full body motion right in from the ground up. And so there's another team out of Italy that's creating a title called Loading Human, and they're creating this beautiful world that's fully interactable. Everything from every book on every bookshelf to even the music within the game, the backing track is actually playing on a record in the room that you can change by taking the record off the record player and putting another record on. So the entire world is fully interactable, and so those sort of experiences are really, you can't do them with anything but a fully interactable sort of control environment in VR. So it's really exciting to see some of those titles that are going to be coming out.
So do you think we're going to see new titles like the ones you mentioned start to make their way because of all these new technologies that are coming around, or do you think we're going to see, you know, a reboot of some of the classics? I mean, it sounds like, you know, you're watching movies. Well, a movie watched in the 70s is great, but, you know, now with today's technology, well, let's just do a reboot of it again, and now we'll take it into, you know, all the 3D and things you can do with movies. So it sounds it's very similar to the gaming world. Are we going to see reboots of these successful titles, or are we going to see new ones, or are we going to see both?
It's actually a really interesting question, and it's been really interesting to follow the virtual reality kind of wave as it's hitting. We're seeing a bit of everything, really. I think this has come not by any coincidence, really. This has sort of come at the perfect time in terms of virtual reality and the Oculus Rift. It was perfect timing in terms of the technology is at a stage where it can be produced affordably. The people have computers that are generally mostly powered enough to run this. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. Was where I was going with that. But I've lost my train of thought. But basically, we're seeing all sorts of different things. So one of the things we're seeing is definitely initially at the very start, especially we were seeing a lot of older titles being sort of hacked into virtual reality, and some of those have gone beyond hacks, and we're seeing some of the older titles, especially where the source code's available, like Half-Life. So there's a really good Half-Life virtual reality mod now available, and so you were mentioning Half-Life before, so that's a great title that people are familiar with that is now being ported across to virtual reality, and so that actually works fairly natively well. But we're actually, so that's where I was going with it. Was the other thing that's really helped is that we're with game engines. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, like Unity and Unreal. It's created. I sometimes liken it to when Apple brought out the iPhone. All of a sudden, there was a million new developers in the world, where people that never had thought about being a developer now sort of started coding and building apps for the iPhone. And companies like Unity have started to bring the tools that AAA studios had available now to indie game developers, and we're seeing a huge increase in the number of indie game developers that are able to have the finances to put together games, and we're seeing a lot of creativity coming from independent game developers. And even large companies like Sony with the PlayStation, they're now quite strongly going after independent game developers. So we're seeing a lot of that content coming up, and that's been really great for VR in terms of there's a lot of independent developers out there that want to build projects specifically for VR. And I think most of the content initially will come from independent game developers. AAA studios, they're going to be a bit slower to come along, and that's because these guys are working with huge budgets, $150 million easily for a game, and they can't just turn around and try and experiment with a new technology as it comes out. They just can't afford to take the risk. So they're going to probably take a little bit longer to come on. But now that we've got companies like Oculus, which has obviously been bought by Facebook for $2 billion, these companies are starting to get a little bit more sway. So you are starting to see some of the largest studios taking note and starting to think about producing VR titles. So I think the transition's sort of gone from sort of hacks through to some of the older classics being reinvented, through to new and interesting creative VR games, and we'll eventually see that going through into some of the larger studios starting to get into VR titles. But I mean, by no means are the independent games that are being developed of a less quality in any way. I mean, we're seeing some amazing stuff coming out. I mean, one of the games I'm really excited about, which isn't definitely going to be in VR as far as I'm aware, is No Man's Sky, which is a fully procedurally generated infinite universe, basically, with creatures that we don't even know yet exist, could exist on these planets that you can explore. I mean, and this is by a small studio. So, I mean, it's pretty phenomenal what people are able to produce these days.
What was the name of the game?
No Man's Sky.
No Man's
They
Sky.
had a huge launch at E3 this year. Sony is very interested in them, so they've started to support them as a team as well. So that's great to see that they're getting that support. But I would also say that one of the other interesting things that's come out from virtual reality is not just games but experiences. And so one of the things that virtual reality really does is it allows you to experience something that you wouldn't otherwise be able to experience. And so you're seeing things like people are recreating scenes from favorite movies, and there's no purpose to it. There's no there's no objective. It's just to be in that moment that you saw on the screen, but actually be there and be amongst the people. And so, being inside the Matrix is great, obviously, but you're also seeing experiences like in anime films. So you're inside this anime world that's now fully brought to life and right around you. So the Boiler Room scene was one that's from a developer, Nick Patton, in the UK. He's created this so true to the original that it's got so many people interested in it. It's an amazing experience.
Well,
wouldn't
they also have things? I was reading, like, for example, other places like stores. If you want to go to Paris and you want to go to Gucci in Paris, and experience what it's like going into that particular store, or retail environments. I mean, they're going to have, or even restaurants. I mean,
totally.
They're going to have that, and of course. That brings me to my next question: is that has YEI considered these types of devices engage with more than a user's senses, like touch and smell? Because if you're going to go into a restaurant, you're going to want to smell what's cooking in there. So have you thought of using other senses?
I mean, we're always considering ways that the experience can be improved. More devices or more sensors being brought into the experience. I mean, right now, the industry is very young. We're still all sort of exploring it. So I mean, right now our focus is really on the body tracking.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we want to make sure that we deliver quality on that first. But definitely, the future of VR will incorporate all these sensors. And so as we move along our roadmap, we'll certainly be looking at different ways that we can bring other sensors into that experience, and whether that's touch or
yeah, I was
smell.
going to say then tactile feedback is another. Do you think the lack of tactile feedback is going to pose a problem for VR? I mean, if I reach for that rifle, that's down there, and I'm going to pick it up, and I can see it, and I can see my hands reaching down, because you get the hands down in there with the suit and everything, but I'm not feeling the weight or anything of the gun. I mean, that's. I mean, is that going to cause a problem for VR, or you think not?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's going to cause a problem, but I do think it's something that everyone is keenly interested in. I would say that as far as the next sensors to tackle, tactile feedback is definitely one that's very high up on the list. I mean, for us right now, as I said, our biggest focus is on making sure that body tracking is accurate and it delivers the quality that it needs to. I mean, there is the risk with tactile feedback. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. It is possible to add tactile feedback in using things like the Rumble Pack and the traditional console controllers.
Sure.
These do count as tactile feedback, but the question really is, even though when you touch that rifle, your hand buzzes to let you know that you've touched it, does that really give you a better experience?
No.
In the virtual world? So we need to be careful that tactile feedback, that sensation, is really adding to the experience and not taking away from it. And so, in the real world, for us, if you pick up an object with a thick pair of gloves and you can't really feel it. You know, you can still pick up that object. You still know it's in your hand. You can see it. You have other senses that tell you that it's there.
Right.
However, if you could touch it, but you have no idea where your arm or your hand is, that's going to be much more difficult.
Well, obviously, you can't have one with the other. You're going to have to either working in harmony with each other. That's certainly going to be the case. Although, if you're driving a car, I can still see, you know, and you hit a wall to the left, just being bumped to the left. You know, that I think is a realistic experience. I mean,
And as I was saying, it is something that we and others are obviously all working towards, and eventually we will have that in the experience. There's some interesting little challenges that lie along the way for us in virtual reality. So, for example, it is a virtual reality. It's not a real reality. And so, for example, if you're in the virtual world and you put your hand on a table, you want to be able to feel that table. But of course, if you keep moving your hand in the real world, your hand is stopped by the table. In the virtual world, your hand passes right through it. So what should you feel? Should you feel the surface of the table, or do you feel the inside of the table? Or what should that sensation be? So there's a lot of experimentation that still needs to be done.
Or resistance. Look? Bottom line: are we all working toward the holodeck? Is that going to be? Is that the ultimate goal here, to get a holodeck in our rooms? Is that what we're really?
The holodeck, I think, represents. It's just one of many faces of basically gaining entry into virtual worlds. It's kind of like a public gateway, if you kind of think of it. It's a space where you can go in a public place and teleport yourself into these virtual worlds. But you could also do that from home, or you might be able to do that from while you're sitting on the train or on the bus. But I think what we are getting to, and it sort of goes back a little bit to what you were saying before when we were talking about the different experiences. We've been talking about, a lot of creative experiences and a lot of sort of experimental experiences, gaming and being able to live inside one of your anime environments. But that's because we're still very early on. But this is leading into some very serious and some very impactful, a very impactful future for us. I mean, once you can get into an anime experience, there's nothing to say that you can't then step into San Francisco in 1800. And experience what it's like to live in the world there. So for children as they grow up in the next generation, the learning experiences that they're going to have available to them are just going to be astronomical compared to what we were used to when we were growing up. Like I've even seen some cool little demos already where a classroom environment where you're in the virtual reality, but you're having a lesson about the solar system, and all of a sudden you're actually amongst the solar system, and you can see the planets floating around your head, and you can basically reach out and touch them, and you can actually get that sort of visceral experience of the planets as you're learning about them. Instead of just sort of seeing them in a picture or in a video, you're actually amongst it. You're seeing the scale of it. You can really get a sense of it. And so those sort of experiences in the learning environment are going to be very powerful in the educational space. In the future, so that's something that's pretty exciting. That's coming down the road, and the holodeck reminded me of that because I actually I think I had lunch with some guys from JPL. It was a year or so ago, and we were actually talking about a holodeck. And one of the experiences that they were excited about was the idea of one day being able to have a holodeck on every block, or having the ability to step into this virtual world. And let's say there's someone doing a spacewalk and working on part of the spaceship that they need to do, and actually being able to stand beside them and observe them and see what they're doing, and basically teleport yourself into these places that you could be on the moon walking around with some astronauts, or even when we send people to Mars, being able to actually travel with them and go with them and being in those places. So it's that sort of sense of telepresence, being able to teleport yourself not into a virtual world but into the real world, but made virtual. So there's some really exciting stuff that's going to be coming down the track.
Well, maybe you can do that before you commit yourself going to a one-way trip to Mars. Try it out in virtual reality first.
I think you're still going to have volunteers to go to Mars.
Yeah,
I guarantee it.
I know. I still can't believe that people are going to do that. I mean, there's so many problems that can come up that I don't know what the answers are going to be. But anyway, so again. Now we've touched a little bit more on use cases for the PrioVR outside of virtual reality and gaming. I mean, with let's say in the medical profession, or a surgeon could use something like this?
Yeah. So primarily at the moment our focus is on gaming and motion capture. Motion capture, I haven't really mentioned much about that, but it's really, you will have seen it in movies like Avatar and any of the sort of the computer generated.
Sure.
So people are fairly familiar with motion capture. So that's one of the key use cases we're also focusing on. But that's really because right now that's where we can deliver the most value. However, we're already seeing people wanting to use the PrioVR for all sorts of different use cases, and some of those are in the medical field in terms of rehabilitation for injuries, and also being able to detect the onset of other illnesses or diseases that affect motor abilities. So there's some interesting applications in that space. And that also translates into things like sports therapy and sports coaching, and being able to check out your technique as you're training and be able to replay those over and over. And having the PrioVR at sort of the price point it is brings some of those tools that may have been available to high-level sports athletes, but now can start to come into people's everyday lives, and to the point where as we miniaturize the hardware and in future generations of the PrioVR, where it becomes a lot more invisible and integrated more into your actual apparel, you'll actually have the ability to do all of that sort of personal fitness tracking and health tracking yourself, and have full diagnostics.
I know it's kind of early, but any idea what kind of price range you think is going to be? Any idea?
For eventually, or for the first model at the end of the year? For
the first model at the end of the year.
Yep. So the actually, we talked about the light version, and I think you mentioned the other two versions. But so the light version, which we mentioned, was the upper body only, and that has the tracking for arms and head. The core version adds leg tracking, and so that has a sensor for your lower leg and your upper leg. And then the Pro version is the one that we recommend for high performance and motion capture. That has 5 additional sensors, and one of them is on your hip, you've got 2 on your feet, and you've got 2 on your shoulders. And so the light version is $289. The core version currently is for pre-order at $369, and the Pro version is $429 on pre-order at the moment.
Wow.
And I think you also mentioned, you asked about the 5 additional sensors and what they were for.
Right, but we're out of time.
Okay.
I mean, and we can have you back on again another time, Mike, to address this again. But
probably when you get the full product release, we'll have you on again and see where you've come.
Exactly.
That would be great. It's been really enjoyable. Thanks. Thanks very much for having me.
And again, it's affordable. It seems like it's in an affordable range. Obviously, I think the most expensive suit under $500. The harness certainly will be something.
I mean, just the value alone for motion capture equipment. I mean, that pays for itself right there.
Exactly.
I mean, for a gaming peripheral, $289 or $369 is very affordable, and especially for a motion capture suit, coming down from $20,000 down to $429 is definitely brings it into the realm of most people.
Well, again, check out the website PrioVR, PrioVR.com, or you can head over to our website at ComputerAmerica.com and onto the show notes page, and you can see the link there. Mike, thank you so much for spending the hour with us here and letting us know, and we look forward to having you back, when it comes closer to fruition. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Craig. Thanks, Ben. It's been a pleasure.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, what do you think? Pretty cool stuff.
I mean, by the way, and this is kind of off topic, Half-Life, if you've never heard of it and you want to learn about it, Netflix has a great documentary on it. He was talking about the economy and that kind of thing. This has been eating at me ever since we started talking about it. Netflix has a great documentary on Half-Life and that whole thing. And he's talking about with the next generation of the game, motion capture might be a thing where you interact with people, kind of more physically.
Well, all right. All right, well, we're going to come back with computer technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities. And again, you can hear everything on our website at ComputerAmerica.com, especially in our archives section, the audio archives and the video archives, all up at ComputerAmerica.com. Stay tuned for another hour of the show here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, the Boost Radio Network, and the IRN Radio Network.
Broadcasting live. It's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into Hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And we just had PrioVR on the show.
Yeah, I didn't get to say what I really thought about it. I was kind of mentioning halfway through.
What do you think?
PrioVR.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Gamer?
No, I have. Oh, I thought it's a
That's the movie where they take criminals and they put people in virtual reality and they, compete to, in a game kind of thing, but with like real people. Like they control people through technology in a first-person shooter.
Yeah. Well, no, I did not. I remember the previews for it, but I didn't watch it.
Okay. Well, anyways, I think that's where it's probably closer to getting than holodeck from Star Trek or any other kind of virtual reality. I think if you've ever seen the movie Gamer, it's a lot of VR equipment, and then that'll leave you to be at home, and you have your vest, you have your helmet, you have your you have everything, and you kind of interact with a full-blown world. And of course you can create your own avatars, you can do this, you can do that, but it'd be just like going outside and socializing, but you can sit at home in your recliner. And I know, and I mean that's a very serious question going to be coming up. Is that good or is that bad? I mean, it's fulfilling the need for social interaction, that all humans crave, but it's never leaving the safety and comfort of your home. So I mean, that's where I think virtual reality is going.
What about people who can't leave the safety and comfort of the people who are physically challenged, who can't? Wouldn't this be something good for them so they can experience the world?
But are they the ones who are going to be abusing it?
No, probably
I mean,
not.
they'll have legitimate reason to use it. I think it's those that have no legitimate reason other than just personal enjoyment to abuse it that will.
So
like we don't fault people for using wheelchairs if they need them. But I mean, if we gave a wheelchair to everyone, and it's like, hey, you can roll around if you want to, have fun.
Yeah.
You're not going to fault the people who need it.
Hmm.
You're going to fault the people who are just kind of abusing the whole thing. But it's is that bad? Who knows?
Well,
maybe it's the way of the future.
Could it be the people who are abusing it are sort of like what they do? For example, that surrogates that Bruce that's where people were abusing it. They had surrogates that would go out in the real world and everything, but actually they just stayed. The actual people were at home. They never left their homes.
Yep. But I mean, this could be an answer to overpopulation. There's just not enough room to move, so you give everyone a nice, 30 by 30 square foot house, and you give them virtual reality equipment, and there you go. You never have to move anymore.
The people who are running out of room, go out into the Midwest and tell me we're running out of room.
There's too much room out there. My God, someone needs to develop that into like a strip mall.
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of room out there. Just there's places to expand. Yes, granted, cities can become congested, but I mean, there are places out.
I mean, obviously, overpopulation was just a joke and that kind of thing. But it's are people going to sit at home all day and become shut-ins and just play with their virtual reality instead of actually interacting with the world? I mean, common sense would tell you no. A perfectly thinking, capable human being will not do that. That is just bad for you. But let's face it. I mean, low-hanging fruit.
It's easier.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
We at Computer America do not recommend that you veg out with virtual reality.
No, nor invest in a holodeck. Exactly.
No, invest away. That's perfect. Have your retirement portfolio heavily invested in holodecks, please.
Really?
But I mean, yeah.
But only for retirement, not for. Well,
No,
when you're supposed to go travel and see places, and
you can travel anywhere with a holodeck.
yeah, I know, but it's not the same thing. Well, at least not yet. Maybe in the future.
I mean, holodeck is just one step away from the Matrix.
That's very true. It is, if you think about it. I mean, there have been a lot
Giving
of
everyone their own little personal pod with a holodeck and nutrient solution, and there you go.
Yeah, there have been a lot of movies about Did you see it? There was a movie called The 13th Floor.
13th floor.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm thinking of the movie The Cube, but that's not right. 13th floor, no.
It's a movie about, it's like this, where they have a computer system, and the guy goes into a whole new virtual world, and you should see the movie. I'm sure it's on TV. You can probably just, or Netflix or something. Just look for The 13th Floor. It's actually very, and he interacts with these characters that are just dream characters and not really there, but then it has a couple of very interesting plot twists, which makes you really think about virtual reality and what could happen. So, if you haven't seen The 13th Floor, I would highly recommend it. Put that on your to-do list.
Fun fact, we're exploring these questions now. They had an experiment about 2 years ago, I think, maybe 3, where they actually tried to see if the universe that we live in right now was a computer program.
What was that?
They actually had it. They actually had an experiment where they were checking to see if this universe was a computer program. Because I mean, if we nowadays can, recreate a 1 nanometer by 1 nanometer by 1 nanometer, piece of space in a supercomputer, I mean, alien technology, what have you, much more advanced. If we can do that one little square, they could do an entire universe just because they're so much more powerful.
This sounds like something Douglas Adams would write.
I know, but we actually did. Scientists actually examined, and they went smaller and smaller and smaller, looking for pixelation, quote unquote pixelation, in our universe.
Really?
Yeah, and guess what?
What?
As far as we can tell, and we have gone down to almost a quantum level, there is no pixelation. You know what that means?
That means that it's real.
Yep, that means that we are not in a computer program as far as we can tell.
Mm. This is very bizarre.
That's very, it's virtual reality. It's the beginning of the end.
Mm.
Beginning of the beginning.
The beginning of the beginning, yeah. Well, something to think about, something to ponder, and we'll have them back on again as they get closer to bringing this to the world. As it goes into production. Certainly would like to see. I would like to try something like that and see what happens. You
actually want to try the PrioVR?
Yeah, I would actually try, or either you or I try it. Yes, exactly. I think it would be kind of neat, don't you? Give it a shot.
Unfortunately, because they are in beta, they are sending out. They said that they were sending out developer kits, and I will say this about their. The preview that they have up on the website. If you go to their website, they have a little 4-minute video that just introduces everything to you, and you can actually see it in action. The only game that they actually show it on was one that I am 99% sure that they made themselves, or at least had someone make them just to use it with the PrioVR. So
Jonathan in the chat room says the universe is just super ultra high definition.
See that the universe is 4K. That's the only explanation. But no, it's the only game that they actually showed the PrioVR working on was a game that I'm pretty sure they had made for the demonstration. And so it's not it's like an indie game. It's not it's not like they were trying it out on DayZ or one of these more popular, higher powerful games. So you don't really get to see or get a full sense of what it can really do. You just kind of it's like, oh, so it can do that. Can't wait to really see, what people can do with it.
Anti-Cleric in the chat room said that the 13th Floor is a remake of something called World on a Wire, which I'm not familiar with that movie. So, but I'll have to.
You just gave everyone their homework to go see 13th Floor. Now you have to go see World on a Wire.
Yeah, but yeah. Meantime, check out the check out the 13th Floor. All right, we're going to do some computer news, and we got some interesting computer technology news stories that we're going to do. Anything else before we start doing this, Ben?
Other than the fact that Craig is sabotaging our website, and we are working actively on a new one.
Okay, let me explain what's going on. We are working. Ben and Aaron are both working on a new Computer America website, and I've been watching it closely. And there have been certain elements on the new website that I really like. And so between the transition, I have quote unquote borrowed some of the ideas and brought them over to the existing website in anticipation of the new one finally coming out. But so you'll get a little peek. Like I love the fact that you put the chat room side by side with the live streaming video window, so you can see without having to scroll up and down. So what I'm doing is I'm incorporating some of those features into the old website, and then we'll see what happens when the new one comes up. So stay tuned. All right. All right. Let's do some computer news, and let's get started. Tonight's Computer and Technology News is brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. You can visit them at slimwareutilities.com to clean, speed up, and optimize your Windows system for free. That's right. Everything at the slimwareutilities.com website is completely free. It's not a freemium model. It's not, it's crippled or you get only a partial or after 10 days you have to get the full version. No. It's completely free, and it will. They have their backup software, the Rec Image for Windows 8. All the Slimware Utilities utilities are completely free, and they will clean, speed up, and optimize your Windows system. Download them all. Keep them in your toolbox of utilities in your computer because you're going to use them, and when you do, you're going to be extremely happy with results, and you'll thank us for it. SlimwareUtilities.com. And starting off with the story, this is from Popular Science. Yeah, story, Google can now delete your past. But how much should be erased? I mean, do people have the right to be forgotten? Interesting question.
Hey!
Would you like
you're actually using a PopSci article.
Yeah, they have good stories. This is it's not about a frog with 3 toes. It's about Google.
Hey, look, genetic permutations are always interesting.
Exactly. Well, they start off by saying in the late 1990s, this gentleman, Mario Gonzalez, ran into financial trouble and a bank foreclosed on his house in Spain. Eventually, he put the situation behind him, but more than a decade later, newspaper notices of the subsequent auction still popped up in web searches for his name. So in 2010, he filed a complaint against the paper and Google, arguing that the foreclosure had been long since resolved and should be scrubbed from their sites. The European Court of Justice, that's the ECJ, ruled in May that Gonzalez can't compel the paper to remove any accurate information, but he and other private citizens may request that search engines remove erroneous, inadequate, or irrelevant links from their results. The landmark decision granted Gonzalez what's known as the right to be forgotten. This legal doctrine asserts that people should be able to leave their past in the past. Although the concept has roots in centuries-old French law, the growth of the web and social sharing in the last decade has prompted legal experts to re-examine it. The ease with which Google serves up a de facto profile of any private citizen is enough to make many people leery of how their lives look online. The ECJ ruling, however, is a major overcorrection, according to this article. It could allow individuals to revise or censor their histories at will. Well, that's not good. Google receives more than 41,000 removal requests in the first 4 days it accepted them. Wow, and began deleting links in early July. The court has handed Google a gavel and given it lower court status, said an assistant professor of international technology policy at Georgetown University. To help establish guidelines and processes for this new digital gray area, the company formed an advisory board that includes Wikipedia co-founder Jimmy Wales. We've had him on the show, by the way. And former Spanish Data Protection Agency Director Jose Luis Pifar. We haven't had him on the show.
Pinar.
Yeah. One likely suggestion from the committee, make search results more timely and relevant. Google has been making those types of refinements for years. In 2011, for example, the company placed an increased value on timeliness. This June, it boosted the mobile search rank of sites with designs responsive to mobile browsers, a revision that could bury outdated hits. Lesser-known search engines have pushed this ID even further. Now relevant for one only shows results posted in the past 14 days. Well, that's a little bit much, but you can always find extremes, I guess. Still, this doesn't get to the root of the problem. How do we best deal with outdated content? A professor at the Oxford Internet Institute, who's been called the godfather of the right to be forgotten, has suggested that publishers assign content expiration dates based on the lifespan of the information's relevance. He envisions a new profession focused on the proper handling of data. Each company would employ one such handler, the same would have an accountant or office manager. In essence, he wants a set of standards that leave the decisions about how data is used to its publishers. This would curtail censoring from individual guided only by self-interest and eliminate the prospect of sweeping arbitrary deletions by Google, which should never have been given final say to begin with. There you go. The right to be forgotten.
See, this whole thing is interesting to me.
Yeah, I think it is too.
It's and especially the last section about having expiration dates, quote unquote, for that kind of thing. First of all, regardless of what happens, even if they say in 3 months this will self-destruct because it will no longer be relevant and it will be deleted. Odds are there's going to be some service somewhere that's going to archive these and you'll find them anyways. So even though even if you can't find them on Google, odds are you will still be able to find it on the internet.
Maybe Google should have an archival reference. In other words, when you see something, and if you want more information about this, you want to go back even further, you can click on it. It's like an archival section of Google.
But I think the point of this whole thing is, just like the very first court decision that this all came about was that he was, the gentleman had a foreclosure on his search history. So whenever, don't say this doesn't happen, whenever banks or whatever, if he tried to reapply for a loan 20 years later, they Google his name because, they try to, make sure they're lending money to the appropriate people, and, foreclosure comes up, even though, statute of limitations or what have you, 7 months, tax purposes, or 7 years, what have you, even though it's gone from all of his records, online he still looked bad. And he couldn't get a loan.
But bankers will also look at that and understand that it was 20 years ago, and not take.
But it was still causing him to be turned down for, issues like that.
Those were bankers that really didn't understand, what was going on.
But can you blame them? I mean, even though it's gone from his records, it's not gone from the internet, and the internet, is just another resource. So they can take that information and use it. Just if he's done it once, he can do it again.
What do you think? What do you think they should do?
I'm liking the idea of not self-destructing data, but data that isn't archived as easily. Google. Lawmakers really have a tough time knowing what Google is. They think the internet is Google. If you can find it with Google, it's on the internet, and so they say child pornography or so and so terrorist sites, what have you. All these things, Google needs to take a firm stand against all this stuff and delete it from the internet. It's like Google already has a very strict guideline for what they'll archive and what they'll cache and what they won't. And you can tell Google to do that all day. They already do it, but I mean, now we're talking about the darknet, where it's things that are not accessible by Google, but they're still on the internet. So I mean, you could have all this data on these people. You could have them not register with Google. Like if you popped in a Google search, it wouldn't be found, but you could still have it on the internet. It just wouldn't be as easily accessible. I mean, I think the data should still be up there, just for archiving purposes. But to be, punch in some guy's name and all of a sudden you get a detailed timeline of his entire online career, I mean, that's a little invasion of privacy-ish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you really wanted to find the incident of when he, had that fender bender and they filed the police report, you could go through the, whatever relevant agency and you could find that police report. but to have it come up on Google every time you type in his name, that's no good for anyone.
Well,
put data where it belongs and not just all of it up front is I guess where I'm going with it.
Okay. Well, it's an interesting story, and it was from Popular Science. Okay.
No, it was a very good one. I mean, Craig, I assume you're of somewhat like mine.
Which is that? Which point? Because you made several of them. Which one?
Of that. Okay, great. What do how far back do you think people deserve to be forgotten on in the case of Google? Because like the court decision said, the newspaper doesn't have to erase anything. They printed factual information. They never have to delete anything.
Yeah.
But does Google, how far back does Google have to scrub their site?
Yeah, and I guess it's a tough one to answer because obviously people will always want to go to newspapers just because they're checking for some obscure record that happened many years ago, and they want to see what the paper said back then, and you want whether they're looking at either an online record or even on microfilm, whatever they're looking at, it's sort of like it's an unalterable history of of the human past, what we've been doing, and so that probably should never change. Whatever it was at that time, that should stay that way. Newspapers are really, a day at a time. They come out, they take a stamp of, an image of what we're doing in our lives and in the world events, and it stays that way, and it's recorded for all time. That's basically.
But I mean, like even for taxes, or I mean, even for your credit report. Things only stay on your credit for 7 years.
Yeah.
You could totally save someone's credit report from the day they were born to the day they die, but they don't.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is that newspapers are basically a picture, a snapshot of what's going on in the world at that particular time, and you can't go back, a year or two and let's change or let's Photoshop that snapshot. I mean, you can't. That's how things were. Whether they were right or wrong, that's what the news was, or that's what we reported at that time.
But that's not what they're wrong against you.
But Google is not the same thing. Google is a dynamic record of all of our human knowledge, and is subsequent to change. Unlike newspapers, which is a snapshot of history, for that particular day. So that's why Google is different than newspapers and shouldn't be held up to the same standard as newspapers. And yes, I agree that certain information about whatever, especially if things are old or outdated, should go away. What that time is, that's hard to determine, but it should not be immutable or not correctable like newspapers that took that snapshot of our worldly news events of that particular day and time.
I'm actually kind of liking the idea of 7 to 10 years.
Well, it could be.
Like you'd have to go through like another service or website to get anyone's record past that.
Mm-hmm.
And even if there was a record that was kept, but just the official unofficial quote unquote Google profile, you Google someone's name, 10 years.
But that only goes to people's names. What about other things? Like I'm looking for a hotel and I want to see how what happened 50 years. Or 40.
I think the closest that people are going to get in that fact is, which a lot of people do, is search by not only relevancy but by date posted. You can sort by, especially anyone who's dealt with computer problems, and you try to Google your problem. It's like, oh, this guy also has a problem that I had. Let's see what happened. And you click on it, and it's like, oh, he asked this in 2007, and there was no replies whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
That was the most useless search ever. I mean, you can already sort by date added.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the closest people are going to get to, to anything that we're talking about, is sort by, most recent.
Maybe. Okay.
Okay. Yep, I got one.
Mm-hmm.
This one from Maxim PC. And, this is actually pretty near and dear to my heart because I play League of Legends. Not quite on the professional level, but, I mean, I like following that kind of thing. And apparently one of the professional teams CLG actually just got their own Razer branded keyboard.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So Maxim PC, Razer gives Black Widow mechanical keyboard, great keyboard. The CLG facelift, and CLG, by the way, Counter Logic Gaming. So a Black Widow like you've never seen one before. Razer has once again teamed up with Counter Logic Gaming to release a custom version of an existing Razer peripheral. You may recall late last year, Razer launched a limited edition CLG version of the Death Adder mouse in the team's iconic black and white colors. This time, Razer and CLG took the Black Widow Ultimate Stealth keyboard and gave it a makeover. The new CLG Black Widow Ultimate Stealth keyboard, that's a mouthful, sports a similar finish with the team's logo imprinted onto a two-tone black and white body. While the keys are individually illuminated with the CLG's white coloring, as before, the keyboard utilizes Razer mechanical switches that were built from the ground up for gaming. And according to Razer, its team of engineers identified the optical actuation distance for a gaming switch to a fraction of a millimeter and reduced the distance between the actuation point and the reset point by almost half to allow for faster, more precise gaming commands compared to standard mechanical switches. Yep. So there are 5 dedicated macro keys that are fully programmable with on-the-fly macro recording and gaming mode options, 10 key rollover anti-ghosting, and USB pass-through 1000 hertz ultra polling. No idea what that is, and support for Razer Synapse. All in all that for a keyboard, a moderately priced $150.
Now, would you buy that keyboard?
For $150?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, I think the original, without a few of the bell and whistles, I think the original Black Widow keyboard sells for $119 or $129. Don't quote me on that. So I'd probably go with that. But I mean, it's a good-looking keyboard, black and white, two-tone, backlighting, and all that kind of thing. It's a very nice-looking keyboard.
It is. It is.
But I mean, the reason I liked it was that CLG is just is a team for League of Legends, and that's when that you, Craig, actually walked in and saw them actually shoutcasting.
Yes.
When you came into the room and you saw it, and they're about to hold their world tournament coming up. All year long, just like for football, basketball, what have you. They have a what they call a split, which is like a season, and they all compete for who's the best team in Europe, in North America, Latin America, and Korea. Yeah, those are the 4 sections. So and then the best from each of those actually get a spot in Worlds, where they go and they compete to see who is the best in the world. And CLG Counter Logic Gaming is one of the better ones, and they are going to be heading off to Worlds. And just to give you a sense of how big that is, I think they're expecting somewhere around 15 million people to tune into that live. To watch nerds play video games. But it's going to be a big event.
Wow, that is going to be cool.
It's just
I
like this.
Are they going to have what I watched? They're going to have the big audience and the sports.
They're going to have the biggest audience you've seen. I think last time they actually did it in front of 4,000 people for Worlds, and a lot of times it's held over in Asia. Just to kind of keep South Korea is really integral to this. So normally it's held over in South Korea. It's they're going to have 4,000 people. It's going to be shoutcasted. It's all going to be live, and it's going to be exciting.
Are you going to watch that event?
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right.
It's the best of the best playing computer games. What's worse?
All right. What's better, actually? Nothing. That's it. All right, listen, we're at the bottom of the hour. We got lots more news stories that we're doing. We're doing computer technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities. You're listening to the Computer America Show on the Blog Talk Radio Network, on the Boost Radio Network, and on the IRN Radio Network We've got a news tips bulletin review from Marty Winston. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 120,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy and major car companies filing for bankruptcy, Cover America Auto Care has announced revolutionary, inexpensive mechanical breakdown coverage that is now available to the general public to save consumers thousands on auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for drivers to call who own a vehicle that is less than 10 years old for a free 5-minute quote and to see if you qualify. The number is 800-483-2514. Drivers who are covered with this auto protection will not have to pay for a covered repair again. This is the auto coverage now sweeping across America at a fraction of what dealerships charge and is now available to the public by calling today. The number to call is 800-483-2514. 800-483-2514. That's 800-483-2514.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number. 1-866-663-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV. Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV.
Hello, friends of exercise. This is Marty Winston for Computer America with a News Tips Bulletin Review. Pulse O2. We talked earlier about the Withings blood pressure monitor and the app on either iOS or Android 4 or later devices. The same app also collects information from their Pulse O2 product. When we got it, it looked like a lot of pieces just to measure pulse rate and blood oxygen level, but that quickly sorted out. The main piece, the active module, comes with a strap for wearing on your wrist, a clip for wearing on your clothes, and a charging cable, so the collection is more about adding dexterity than adding complexity. The misleading first impression continued with the name, but the happy result is that there's even more here than the name implies, starting with a pedometer. The module's face displays a lot of interesting data that the app can record, but we're still leaving out a level of usefulness. If your smartphone is with you as you work out, it also tracks running, elevation, distance, and calories.
Cool.
Bottom line, if you're somebody who, when you burn, yearn for more data, the Withings Pulse O2 activity tracker is no slacker. This is Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Thank you, Marty Winston, for that. It's Therefore Espacio. We are doing computer and technology news and just general discussion. And I understand we have a caller.
Yeah, we're going to see. It looks like a Skype caller. We'll go to Computer America, Craig Crossman. Hi, caller. How can we help you?
Hi, how's it going? My name is Jeff. I'm calling from Oregon.
Hi, Jeff. Welcome to the show. What can we do for you?
Negro!
Okay.
All right. Tried. Okay, so yeah, we're doing computer technology news, and Craig, I believe it's your turn to do a story.
Yes, it is. This again from Popular Science. A Twitter bot helps Chicago officials find dirty restaurants. Okay. The bot led to 133 restaurant inspections and 21 shutdowns in a 10-month period. The story goes as those mole frites that you had at the French bistro last night were delicious, but now you're feeling kind of funny. Worse than funny. Actually, you're trapped in your bathroom suffering from food poisoning. Who are you going to tell about this now. That's an interesting. I mean, you get food poisoning. Who do you go to? What do? You call the restaurant up? They're going to tell you that, it wasn't us. So
Yeah, normally you just kind of keep it to yourself and suffer in silence.
right, exactly. But you may not know that many cities do have hotlines where citizens can report getting food poisoning from restaurants, but not everybody uses them. I think that's probably because a lot of people don't know they exist. If I'm
I sure didn't.
Yeah, I mean, if I know that the city that I'm in has a hotline to talk about, I would certainly call them and let them know. But anyway, so in a recent project, the city of Chicago sought food poisoning causes by setting an algorithm to mine Chicago area tweets for restaurant complaints. That's interesting. The Chicago Department of Public Health's Twitter bot, plus a new online complaint form, helped the department identify 133 restaurants for inspections over a 10-month period. 21 of those restaurants failed inspection, and 33 passed with critical or serious violations, which is not a bad haul. All right. Chicago is now working with the health departments of Boston and New York to see if its system could work in those cities, according to a report city researchers published with the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Plus, Twitter isn't the only social media platform cities are looking to mine for public health violations. What about Yelp? I would think it would be perfect for this. In May, New York City's Department of Health reported on using an algorithm to spot Yelp reviews, there you go, that point to food poisoning cases. But I would think that these are reviews from Yelp. Yelp should have a special section just to report, food poisoning. Anyway.
I think Yelp deals heavily in the review part of the industry.
Yeah. Well, New York's, I've looked at a lot of the reviews. When I go to a restaurant, I'll look at Yelp. I've actually put a few of them up myself on Yelp.
You'll look at Yelp and then you'll go to her restaurant here in South Florida. Shame on you.
I do listen to what people say, especially if I'm going to a restaurant that I haven't been to before, or if I've gone to one that I really like. I'll write a nice review on Yelp, and I get a lot of responses from people saying, "Hey, thanks so much." I've actually gotten a lot of feedback from them. New York's Yelp project led the city to discover 3 restaurants that had multiple violations. All the Yelp cases the city inspected had otherwise gone unreported, New York officials wrote in their own CDC report. Now, the Chicago bot was pretty simple, as Twitter reading computer programs go. Okay, it searched for tweets geolocated to Chicago and its surrounding suburbs that mentioned food poisoning. It had to say those words. Human staff then read the tweets to determine if they were relevant, which sounds like a lot of fun, according to the author. Staff marked tweets are relevant or not relevant to give the algorithm data to better learn what tweets to pull in the future. So evidently it's heuristic. It learns as it grows. It learns. It's growing. Then staff members responded to relevant tweets themselves, and they give a few samples. Here's one this guy wrote. This workday has been called on account of food poisoning. Now I must go back to counting holes in my ceiling. Okay. And then the Foodborne Chicago said, sorry to hear you're ill. The Chicago Health Department can help. So there you go. The link leads to a new online forum called Foodborne Chicago, where city restaurants can report problematic restaurants. Okay, or city residents can report problematic restaurants. Between March 2013 and January 2014, the Chicago bot culled 2,241 tweets, of which 270 were relevant and staff replied to them. 30 Twitter users went to Foodborne Chicago directly from the link the health department sent to them. An additional 163 people submitted complaints to Foodborne Chicago, but the staff didn't know if they learned about the site through Twitter or someplace else. Overall, Foodborne Chicago complaints contributed to 4% of the restaurants in the city shut down for violations during the study period. Chicago likely would have never caught the majority of those complaints without the Twitter bot, officials wrote to the CDC. The city has made its Twitter bot open source, and you can actually see it.
So I guess if it's open source, that means that it would be extremely easy for other cities to implement their own.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it's a good idea. Look, when I like going out to eat, and you always wonder, what goes on behind the scenes in the kitchen, and although a lot of restaurants have an open door policy to let you go in and look, if you
I've never taken a restaurant up on that offer.
yeah, you know why? A lot of them just people don't, but still, um, uh, as you were reading restaurant reviews, if you, I would like the fact that, it's like when you read a book, you read people's reviews, or if you want to buy something on Amazon, you read reviews for people about
Or
that.
if you're Craig Crossman, you read movie reviews and you say, don't worry about the reviews.
Yeah, well, yeah. But, I would find that extremely helpful. If I read about a restaurant and somebody said, I think I got food poisoning there, I wouldn't go, and I'd be very, very careful. At least I would be alerted to that fact. I do know. I know. Look, the cities have different health. They have inspectors, but I think they're overworked. I mean, there's so many restaurants out there and so few officials out there to do the job, especially in a congested like New York City. I mean, that's an impossible job. If you're in a smaller city or smaller suburb,
I think they rely on the element of, it's not this month, but it could happen any month. Scare straight tactic.
Yeah.
More than actually inspecting the restaurants every month or every year, what have you. They go with the fact that, just like an audit, you won't be audited this year, but it could be next year. Watch out, to keep all these restaurants in line. But this isn't a review. This is like an active, real-time, I got food poisoning from this place. All of a sudden that's a blip on someone's radar, and then they go check it out. In my opinion, this is better than a review, because a review, you can say back in 2009, I got food poisoning, we'll never eat here again. That is not relevant, 5 years later. This is real time, and this is, way more relevant. You can put Yelp, I'll never eat here again, and then, that is useless data, come half a decade later.
Yeah. Well, I still going to go to restaurants.
I didn't know that most cities have hotlines that you can report food poisoning.
Yeah, I did not know that either. I did not know that.
That might be worth a Google if you have a knack of eating the wrong thing at the wrong place.
Yeah, exactly. But like anything else, go to a restaurant where you, but you don't want to take the adventure out of it. You want people to try new places and new things, new food, and like anything else, you run a certain risk. We don't live in a laboratory. We live in the real world. Things can happen, even at the cleanest restaurants. Things can happen.
Clean ones, dirty ones. I've eaten at many a taco truck here in South Florida, and I'm sure I have parasites, but it doesn't matter. They were delicious. The cow tongue taco. Oh my God. Would recommend to everyone.
Yummy. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no, it's delicious. Mm-hmm. So okay, well, that's that story. This one is for anyone who's a Game of Thrones fans. I know there's only like 1 billion of you, so relax. Game of Thrones Mountain is named Europe's strongest man, and this is actually pretty funny because he was actually cast, and then he was a professional weightlifter, like a heavy weightlifter, and then he got the part on Game of Thrones as Gregor Clegane, or the Mountain. And the books, he's like this 8 foot tall, crazy, muscly, super strong guy.
Yeah.
And he kind of fit the persona just by looking at him. And it turns out that not only is this guy like I think he's like 26 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Craig, I'm not sure if you're looking at the picture or not.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
But he's like 26 years old.
Okay.
He's a young guy.
Yeah.
But let's see. Let's go with the article. Blaster, and in Game of Thrones, perhaps the most fearsome warrior in all of Westeros is Gregor Clegane, known as the Mountain that rides, or the Mountain. He's almost 8 feet tall. He's almost 8 feet of muscle and rage, and carries a 6 foot sword with one hand. It's unsurprising that the man who currently plays him is tall and strong, but actor.
Go pronounce
how do you pronounce that. That's Halfor Bronson.
Bjornsson.
There we go. Thank you. Is much stronger than most. Bjornsson, who probably could wield a 6 foot sword with one hand, has recently won Europe's Strongest Man competition. according to MTV, he took on all the challengers and left none standing, placing in first in 3 major categories: deadlifting Atlas stones and forward hold of Thor's hammer. So, in addition, he placed second in the title of the world's strongest man, which technically makes Game of Thrones actor the second strongest man in the world. So he was Europe's strongest man and the second strongest man in the world. He's also the 3rd actor to play Gregor Clegane. The Mountain was originally played by Conan Stevens. He left in season 1 to take a role in The Hobbit. And in season 2, the character was played by Ian White. A 7'1" White continues to appear in the show as what else? A giant. So, according to Wikipedia, Bjornsson is 6'9" and weighs almost 400 pounds.
Nice.
And he's also stronger than you. but it was one of those funny things where it's like, he plays a fictional character that is extremely strong.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then for him to be, also extremely strong in real life, to the point where he's winning professional competitions, aside from his acting, like, you can cast, what's his name? Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
You can cast Morgan Freeman in all of the intellectual science roles you want. He plays them well. He seems like he knows what he's talking about, but you don't see Morgan Freeman giving dissertations to neuroscientists.
No.
He's an actor. He plays his roles well. Whereas Bjornsson, he's just strong. He is all muscle, 400 pounds. He is just huge. Fun fact.
No CGI necessary for this guy.
Not really. Not really. He's of course they had to make him look a little bit bigger with camera angles and that kind of thing, but you don't have to. It's not like you're trying to turn
right.
Gilbert Gottfried into the Mountain. This guy is already huge. There's not really a lot of camera tricks.
Big guy. Well, there you go. Well, this this next story is from Tech Hive. Google may offer accounts for kids, which also gives controls for parents. Children who want to use Google services may no longer have to lie about their age, as the company reportedly plans special accounts for users under the age of 13. I'm liking this so far. Currently, Google doesn't allow users to sign up unless they say they're at least 13 years old. That's because the FTC, that's the Federal Trade Commission, has strict privacy rules in place for children, requiring parents to provide verifiable consent in the form of a credit card transaction, a phone call to a trained specialist, a printed consent form, or a scanned image of the parent's government ID. But it's not exactly a secret that kids will pretend to be older in order to use online services like Google. Okay. According to both, I didn't have to do any of that when I signed up for Google. I don't know what that was.
What do you mean?
I signed up for Google. I mean, Google. I went Google.
You probably put in your birthday, and it was like, oh yeah, you're good.
All right. Well, what would stop a kid from putting in, a later birthday?
Craig.
Yes.
There are 2 big lies on the internet.
Yeah.
2 big ones.
Yeah.
Yes, I have read and I agree to the terms and conditions. And the second lie is, yes, I am over 18 years old.
Okay.
Those are 2 facts that I don't think are ever taken seriously.
Yeah. Okay. Well, according to both the Information and the Wall Street Journal, Google is figuring out how to best jump through the Federal Trade Commission's hoops. As The Verge points out, Yahoo already offers family accounts authorized to a 50-cent credit card charge. In addition to letting parents sign their children up, Google may provide an online dashboard so parents can keep track of the children's activity. Google has also reportedly considered a child-friendly version of YouTube. There's a lot going on YouTube there, I'll tell you, that kids shouldn't see. The news is, I don't think adults should even see it. The news is already making privacy advocates wary. The Wall Street Journal cites the director of the Center for Digital Democracy as saying the move will threaten the privacy of millions of children if Google doesn't handle it properly. The flip side is that proper children's accounts are an opportunity to improve privacy, as the accounts would have to comply with the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. For instance, the law states that service providers can only collect information that is reasonably necessary to participate in that activity. That means providers can't lure children with a game or quiz and require them to fork over a bunch of irrelevant data that could then be forked over to advertisers. Advocacy groups are right to be cautious, given Google's past privacy missteps, but if the company can provide powerful monitoring and privacy controls for parents while complying with government regulations, legitimate children's accounts would do more good than harm. You agree?
I agree. I mean, Google, the more they can do to protect children, I mean, there's a lot of laws out there, but I think that the people who mine data, to sell for advertising and that kind of thing, they don't care what age you are. I mean, if they can break into a whole nother age group, they'll do it in a heartbeat. But 13 under, make sure they don't see certain things, and make sure that they aren't, harnessed for the little commodities that they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's, that's good.
Okay, so
Good on Google.
You're in agreement with it. Okay, good. All right.
Also, coming from someone who had full reign of the internet back when I was 10 years old, folks, do not let your children have full reign of the internet before they hit 13 years old, at least.
Why? What happened?
The internet is a scary place. I grew up in it. I have seen things that I did not want to see, and I have seen things that have branched off of that thing that I did not want to see, and I have seen more things that did not need to be seen.
Okay.
It's scary out there. I have seen things that Craig hasn't seen.
Oh, gosh. And Craig doesn't want to see.
Yeah, that no one wants to see, but I have seen them. And folks, the tunnel is dark.
Yeah. Well, and so some child under 13 years old, you basically, you don't want to.
Some child under 45 years old shouldn't see the things I've seen. Oh. The internet's dangerous.
Yeah.
Thanks, 4chan. All right. So let's see. What next article can I go to? All right. Well, how about this one? World of Warcraft. Got to love it. Blizzard bumping up the price of World of Warcraft subscriptions
again
in the UK.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So as subscribers flee, a little bit of an overstatement, subscription pricing goes up.
Wow.
Gravity ensures that most of what goes up must also come down. Even that helium-filled balloon that will return to Earth with one day, minus the helium inside. But when it comes to World of Warcraft, the most popular MMORPG, the opposite is true. That's to say that on the heels of Blizzard Activision announcing that WoW's number of subscribers has gone down, the price of subscription is going up.
What is it now? What is the subscription now?
They only report the subscription in quarters, so we're gonna have to wait until the third quarter ends. So it was 6.8 million at the end of the last quarter, and they actually World of Warcraft actually had a press conference a couple of days ago that I actually watched. Didn't have a chance to say it on the show. Their next expansion is slated for November, I want to say 14th.
Okay.
So that's when the new expansion for World of Warcraft is coming out.
And this is the one that's going to add the expansion is going to add what more real estate, another continent.
No, well, I mean it's to get a little nerdy here, it's going from levels 90 to 100, so it's going to give you 10 more levels instead of the 5 levels like they had the last two expansions. So all of your characters are going to be available to level up again. They're doing away with a lot of the old abilities, and they're kind of giving the whole game a facelift. Just to try to, because they even said when they were announcing this that over 10 years the game has gotten a little crowded. With all the different abilities that you can use. So they kind of gave the game a whole facelift. They're adding a new alternate timeline kind of deal that explores more of the lore and the backstory. And of course, that's going to mean new areas, new bosses. Really, they actually released a visual comic. a visual novel kind of deal. That is much more gritty, brutal. There's blood and stuff like that. Gone is the Day of the Panda, and once again it's brutal and on the bit darker side of video games.
Okay.
So they're so they're going for that audience that they kind of lost with the pandas. They're trying to bring them back with something a little bit more grittier. And so November 14th, they're bringing that out, and the cinematic, Craig, that I'm actually going to make you watch is they actually released that because as anyone tell you, Blizzard has the best cinematics of any video game company out there. I mean, be it StarCraft, be it Diablo, be it Warcraft, their cinematics ever since, Warcraft 1 was kind of iffy, but I'd say about ever since 96, 97, they've had the best cinematics ever. And the latest one does not disappoint.
That's saying something. Call of Duty, everything, they're just better?
Just the amount of art and effort and time and money and resources that they put into these cinematics, it's without a doubt they have the best.
Okay. By the way, what is the monthly subscription fee for Blizzard?
Again, this is for the UK, so everything's in pounds. No idea what the conversion rate. I assume £1 is 2 lollipops, so whatever that gets you. I'm kidding. It's going from €8.99 euros to $9.99, and of course that translates to 3-month and 6-month if you pay upfront. For the larger you get bulk pricing, and it actually comes down a bit. But
that's not euros, that's pounds, because it's
pounds. Oh yeah, I was right the first time. So 21 pounds for 60 days, and £10 for 30 days, which is actually pretty closely in line with here in the States, where we pay $15 a month.
You pay $15 a month, okay.
All right. $15 a month, which is, of course, a whole different pricing structure than what they had in China, which is you actually pay for hours played and not just days.
Ooh.
So for each region they have different pricing structure. So don't think, they're losing money, so so now they have to up the prices. No, this is probably just accounting for a lot of different things in the region.
In China, they play by hours played?
Because they play so much and so often, they actually found it, just because of server costs and things like that, it was more economical for them to charge by the hour instead of by the day.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, like to a casual gamer, like let's say you played 4 hours a day, it would break about even, But because the Chinese are the Chinese, when you're playing 14, 16 hours a day, that's kind of gonna put a bigger load on your system. Means you have to charge more.
Yeah, really.
So pricing structures are different from each region, and they're just bumping up the one for the UK.
Okay. Anything more to the story? There was
No, just World of Warcraft. If you haven't seen the new expansion and the new trailer, please go check it out. And if you are an old subscriber to World of Warcraft, dare I say, this might be the one to bring you back for at least a couple months.
Really? You think it's that good?
Oh yeah, no. It looks like it could be the one to, kind of regain some of their lost numbers.
Really? All right. Well, they obviously know what they're doing, and they've got the money and the
90 seconds
to make it happen. Okay. Well, listen, we're just about out of time here for all these news stories, and coming up on tomorrow night's show, we have Intel is going to be joining us. That's right. It's our Intel sponsor hour, and on this particular show, we're going to be talking to Intel about tablets and the future of tablets. We're going to be having one of the head guys from the tablet industry for Intel talking about it.
60 seconds.
It's going to be, what is his name? I can't find his name. Oh, Chris Walker from the Tablet Group is confirmed for being on tomorrow night's show. It's going to be very interesting. Please join us for that. And then, of course, in hour 2, more computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight, and we look forward to being with you tomorrow night. Again, with Intel, Chris Walker talking about tablets and the direction Intel's going to be taking with tablets. So it's going to be an interesting show, and we hope to have you with us tomorrow night. So until tomorrow night, this is Craig Crossman hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Good night, everyone.
Seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, and we're out of that. We're still in the Hangouts, of course. Why is it we get we got? I think it's the same caller. Comes and does.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try something real quick.
What are we gonna try?
I'm gonna try something like this.
Oh, you're doing a screenshot. Okay.
Do you see it playing?
Do I see? I see a little dot moving around on the screen. It's your mouse cursor. It's moving on a black screen.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Never mind then.
What was it you were trying to show me?
No, just a video. Just a video.
Oh no, yeah, I can't see the video.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's not showing it. Is this the video from Blizzard? You're telling me about? Oh, okay. Well, maybe there's another way to do it. We can't do it with screen share, but we can do it with the Razer? We can do it with them or something. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Listen, thanks again for watching the show tonight. Again, Intel going to be with us tomorrow, talking about the future of tablets and what Intel's going to be doing in the tablet industry. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Say good night, Ben.
Oh, good night.
Good night.